Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So, spoiler season continues on for Lost Caverns of Ixalan. I almost said Ixalan. Oh my goodness, it's still early. Ixalan, there we go. Let's jump into it though with a brand new card that might be a brand new staple with Threefold Thunderhulk. That's quite the name. A 0/0 artifact creature gnome that costs 7 mana. So this is a hefty mana value. Let's see what you get out of that mana value though. Enters the battlefield, 3+1/+1 counters on it. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, you create a number of 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens equal to its power. On top of that, pay 2, sacrifice another artifact, get a counter on this. So this is quite the interesting card because it is very reminiscent of another card that we'll talk about here in just a little bit. And that card, well, sees an absurd amount of play in Commander. It is a very, 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 very popular card with a lot of decks out there, especially in a format like Commander that is quite casual. And you can get away with being like, yeah, okay, I'll make a 7 mana creature that like has just, hey, take some tokens, right? Take some tokens. In this case, you are getting 3 tokens at the very least, right? Essentially, again, ETB, this is a 3/3, you are getting 3 tokens. Now, on top of that, again, you are also getting a great attack trigger. Every single time this attacks, you are getting, at the very least, 3 tokens. And actually, this card itself can just help you increase that amount too. I mean, this makes you 3 artifacts, essentially, right? 3 1/1s. You can pay 2 mana for each one of those, sacrifice those, get more counters on this, and essentially replace them and then some. I mean, and then some eventually. Because, yeah, I mean, again, the bigger this creature gets, the more power it gets, the more counters on it gets, the more tokens you make, again, on attack. So, this is not just done on ETB. This continues to provide you more and more creature tokens throughout the game, depending on if you can protect it in the attack or if it can become big enough in the attack, or again, if your opponent is unwilling to block it, because, yeah, this does have like some combat trick potential to it again, because, hey, I swing at you, I've got artifacts that I can sacrifice, and I've got mana open. I could adjust this power to ensure that this survives combat. So there's a lot of potential for this, and again, of course, there's ways to use and abuse the ETB, ways to use and abuse those counters, ways to, gain it power, a lot of ways to really play with this card. And again, now let's talk about the card that is similar to this one and why I'm thinking about this one being a pretty, not sure in for a staple, but I can definitely see this card seeing a lot of play in a lot of different decks out there. So now let's talk about the comparison card, and you probably guessed it because, yeah, this is very reminiscent of Myr Battlesphere, which sees play in a ton of Commander decks out there. And like Myr Battlesphere, it is a colorless card, so it can fit in any deck. It is a 4/7 Myr construct that costs 7 mana. Enters the battlefield, you get 4 1/1 Myr artifact creature tokens. Whenever it attacks, you may tap X, untap Myr control. If you do, it gets plus X plus 0 until end of turn and deals X damage to the player or planeswalker attacking. So this one gives you value in a different way. This one is giving you 4 tokens instead of 3, and that attack trigger is where it really differentiates itself. It says, hey, okay, I can get slightly larger when I attack, and then also, yeah, I can deal some immediate damage to the player or planeswalker that I am attacking. So at a base level, sure, this one gives you more immediate value. Again, 4 tokens instead of 3, that, yes, will make a difference for certain decks out there. Yeah, I mean, you're paying 7 mana for 5 bodies, essentially. The other one, the new card, you are paying 7 mana for 4 bodies. That being said, the floor might be a little lower for that, but the ceiling, in my opinion, is definitely higher for the new card because, again, Myr Battlesphere really can't adjust the number of, creature tokens you're going to be making. I mean, except for a few circumstances, we'll bring up some commanders that can help you out and some synergies that can help you out as well. For the most part, yeah, you're set at 4, right? But the new one, you're set at 3, but there is that potential to increase further depending on if you maybe have some other effects to increase that power, if you've got other ways to get more counters on it. And also, you can make more and more tokens the more times you attack. I'd say that personally for most decks out there, I think that, well, creating tokens on attack is probably going to be a little more powerful than just slightly pumping the power of this creature and then also dealing some direct damage. Now, obviously, that's situational, but I'd say for the most part, yeah, you'd really rather have an attack trigger that's like, hey, yeah, sure, take some more tokens, because obviously, if you're including this brand new card in a deck, you want tokens. So now let's talk about some synergies and ways to, again, hit that high ceiling for this brand new card. And the first synergy that I want to bring up is Branching Evolution and other cards like it. If one or more counters be put on a creature control, twice so many +1 counters are put on a creature instead. It's enchant for just 3 mana in total. Yeah, there's a reason why this one's $18. +1 counter builds are very popular in Commander, and this is an incredibly powerful effect. Doubling up the counters on something is very good. Again, keep in mind with our brand new Gnome artifact, hey, it enters the battlefield. It would enter with 3. Now it's entering with 6, meaning that its power is 6, and meaning that we get 6 tokens. So again, whereas Myr Battlesphere, well, this in play that does nothing for it, right? We don't get any extra power on that. We don't get any extra tokens. This essentially doubles up our, new card's power, and it also doubles up the amount of tokens that we're going to be getting. And also on top of that, if we pay 2 mana, sacrifice an artifact, now we're getting additional counters every single time, right? It's not just 1 each time, it would be 2 each time, so we kind of double up that value as well. Speaking of extra value, again, keep in mind that the way that it's worded, it doesn't say like number of counters on it, right? Its power is what determines the amount of creatures we are getting. So yeah, Collective Blessing, a great card with this kind of a deck as well. This kind of a card as well, I should say. Creatures you control get +3/+3. So again, just cards that care about power, just decks that care about power. Yeah, this is one of them. Hey, +3/+3 to it. Again, add another way to get it to 6 power and essentially say, yeah, I'm getting twice as many tokens as I would be getting. So yeah, keep that in mind. Anthems are great with it, other ways to increase power, etc., etc. Also, yeah, Panharmonicon. This one works for Battlesphere and also our new Gnome. If an artifact or creature in a battlefield causes ability trigger to essentially trigger, doubles its time. I'm basically just blubbing it right now, but here's what it is. Hey, you double up your ETBs. You're doubling up every single one of your ETBs in an ETB-centric deck, which this is obviously a great ETB. Yeah, now you also get, again, twice as many of those. You also get twice as many counters on it, too, because it's entering with now 6 counters. It also, doubles up that ETB. So I believe, and correct me in the console below if I'm wrong on this, you'd get, 12 creatures, right? Because you double the counters. You'd also double the ETB that essentially says, you know what, you are coming into play. You are making 3, which would be, 6, then 12. Let me know if I'm wrong on that, but yeah, basically a doubling effect could be absolutely crazy with this kind of a new card. Yeah, it's good with your Battlesphere, but it can be even better with our brand new Gnome. Also, again, combat is a thing. Relentless Assault. Any of those extra combat spells or effects can be great with it too. Again, Myr Battlesphere, sure, yes, you get an initial combat trigger with this too. That's nice. But more importantly, this new Gnome, hey, swing again, make twice as many tokens, essentially, again, when you're getting extra combat. So just kind of with all these synergies, there's a lot of different avenues to get extra synergies out of this brand new card. Yes, there are some from Myr Battlesphere too, but this brand new one is like, hey, again, I might have a lower floor, but my ceiling can be much, much higher for the right deck out there. But now let's move on to some commanders that might want to consider this card. Depends on the Urza deck you are building. If you're building an Urza Lord High Artificer deck that's just all 0 mana cards, yeah, you might not want to consider this. But again, if you've got, more of a, I'd say casual Urza build that's more like, yeah, sure, okay, I'll make something like a Myr Battlesphere in that deck that, makes a lot of tokens. This one also makes you a lot of tokens. Again, basically, hey, you are getting back 4 of the amount of mana that you were putting into it, and that might even go higher, depending again on other synergies. Because again, you were getting 4 artifacts in total. Urza Chief Artificer, yet another Urza. Yeah, Urza loves artifacts. Who knew? A 4/5 human artificer for 6 mana total, affinity for artifact creatures. So this one gets reduced by 4 thanks to you just playing this brand new Gnome. On top of that, artifact creature control menace. That's nice. Again, a way to help get that through. And you also make constructs that get pumped based on the number of artifacts you have. So yeah, Myr Battlesphere works well in this one. So is this brand new Gnome. Moving on, and I believe I made a mistake on the Panharmonicon. It enters with, doesn't double up the number of counters on it. Correct me in the console if I'm wrong on that too. But still, Panharmonicon essentially is going to be great for this kind of a card. And here's a Panharmonicon commander getting off the white. Flash, cast legendary spells and artifact spells with flash. So it's nice just to be able to flash in a 7 mana card. Pick a legendary permanent and artifact entering or leaving the battlefield causes a triggered ability to trigger. Triggers additional time. So essentially, hey, double up that ETB, get twice as many of those tokens. Have fun with that. Next up, speaking of getting and abusing that ETB, Brago. Any kind of a blink commander can be incredible with this one. Whenever it deals combat to a player, exile any other target non-land permanent you control. They return those cards to the battlefield under control. Yeah, this one is a flyer, so you can get through at least one of your opponents, and this is a great way to use and abuse that ETB and many more. Myr Battlesphere works great in this deck, so will this brand new Gnome. Get more and more and more of those creatures. Next up, speaking of more, Atraxa Praetor's Voice. Yeah, any kind of a +1 counter build with a Proliferate synergy can be incredible with this. Beginning of your end step, proliferate. Also, sure, it's a 4/4 flying vigilance death, lifelink creature. Anyways, proliferating is incredible with counters builds because, hey, everything that I have with a counter on it that I want to have a counter, I get an extra counter. So just keep countering more and more and more times, getting more and more counters. And all of a sudden, yeah, you've got, what, like 10 counters on your gnome, and then you swing and you get 10 more creatures, and maybe get counters on those to make them even bigger. Yeah, things get out of control in absolutely no time with a proliferate build. Also, hey, Hamza, Guardian of Irration. This spell costs 1 less cast for each creature control they counter on it, and also creature spells you cast cost 1 less cast for each creature control they counter on it. This one essentially can be a free spell. Hamza loves artifact creatures that even if they have a high converted mana cost, that can be reduced down to 0 still, because again, if you go wide, if you get a lot of counters on creatures, or sorry, I should say a lot of creatures with counters on them, you can reduce the cost of all those creatures. So again, if you've got 7 creatures with counters on them, all of a sudden this brand new gnome is free. You get into play. You probably get counters on your other, gnomes that you have too that you just made, and you reduce the cost of your other creatures even more. So yeah, this can be quite crazy. Hamza is a scary commander when it gets going. Speaking of scary commanders, Wolfgar of Icewind Dale. Yeah, hey, I mentioned that a combat, attack trigger can be great with this, card. Well, here you go. Here's a commander that absolutely loves that. If a creature you control attacking will cause a triggered ability of a permanent you control trigger, triggers this whole time. Basically, hey, you know what? You attack again, even at a base level with 3 counters on your gnome. Now that is double. That trigger is doubled, and now you get 6 on that attack. So yeah, keep in mind, obviously, again, there's so many synergies. There's so many commanders out there, again, whether it's an artifact-centric commander, whether it's, I guess I didn't even mention like an aristocrat-style commander that wants creature tokens to sacrifice, whether it's a +1 counter build, whether it's a blink commander, whether it is a attack trigger commander. All of these different kinds of commanders are definitely want to consider this brand new card. Again, it's like Myr Battlesphere again, lower floor, higher ceiling. So yeah, I can definitely see this card seeing a lot of play. But now this episode is coming to a close. It's my turn here from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts are on it. Yeah, I think this card has a lot of potential. Again, it's very Myr Battlesphere-esque. And of course, right when you see that 7 mana, artifact creature, you're like, okay, there's some comparable cards. This better be good for 7 mana. This ETB is fantastic, and of course, it's got even more potential. And also, I kind of forgot to mention too, like, it is also just a sacrifice outlet for artifacts. So if you are looking for a deck that likes to sacrifice artifacts, maybe get some extra value out of them when they hit the graveyard, yeah, that also works too. So make sure you're keeping that in mind. Regardless, overall, a really cool brand new card. Yeah, make sure you are staying tuned to this channel for even more exciting quick takes and spoilers and brand new cards as well. And of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.